Hey there, how's it going? This is Cross the Rubicon channel, and today is the 5th of August. I'm in an undisclosed town in North Wales, North East Wales, and just following the news today, this morning, GB News, because let's face it, no other mainstream media outlet is covering the story of migration. Mass illegal migration flooding into Kent, mostly Kent, on the southeast coast of England. GB News is, and especially Nigel Farage. Yesterday, 482 or 484 were brought in to Dover by the border force, RNLI, and these people are told by the British government to go out there and pick people up in the middle of the channel and bring them in for their safety. I think it's absolute insanity that any government, never mind a Conservative government, are doing this to their own nation. Now, most of these young men that are flooding in, 85% young men, young fighting age. Once they're in, and they're not going anywhere. And it's going to be a massive problem for the future, a massive problem. And nobody seems to have the political will to do anything about it. Britain is handing over millions and millions to France, hand over fist. 54 million, I think, last week. 54 million just to pull it out of a hat, give it to France, and for what? For what? Boris Johnson would have been better off, honestly, he would have been better off putting that 54 million in my bank account. I probably would have achieved more with it. But this is where we are. When Theresa May was the Prime Minister, you just got to shake your head. She signed the United Nations Global Compact for safe and orderly migration. Now, that was supposed to be non-binding, supposed to be, and yet Britain is honouring this by sending out the RNLI and Border Force halfway across the channel and picking these people up. Safe, that's the safe and orderly migration bit. Now, no one seems to be mentioning this, and it should be mentioned because it says in that document it's non-binding. So why are the British government acting like it's binding? But this is where we are. They tell us, but when they sign this kind of stuff, they tell us to sweeten us up. Oh, don't worry about it. It's non-binding. Don't worry about it. We don't need to enforce it. But the problem is they are enforcing it. They are. Over 8,000 now. 8,000. Vast majority, 85, 90%, young fighting age men this year have flooded in. They're the ones they know about. They're the ones they've picked up in boats. Many more, maybe double that, triple that even, may have literally reached the shores in their dinghies and just ran up the beach and disappeared and made their way to London and Birmingham, and many more possibly on trucks, backs of trucks and things like that, because there doesn't seem to be a political will to stop this. There's no political will at all, and they won't even have a debate about it. And let's face it, Nigel Farage has highlighted it. Other YouTubers before him, who weren't quite as high profile, highlighted it. But Nigel Farage, he's picked it up, fair play to him, and he's ran with it. And if it wasn't for him and the YouTubers, before and after, highlighting this issue, we wouldn't know about it. We wouldn't know about it. But up and down Britain, people see their communities change. The demographics of their communities change. And these people, they flood in, mostly young men. No one knows where they come from because they throw their passports away. And they get put up in, well, they used to get put up in barracks. But now they're up in hotels, all on a taxpayer's dime. And it's a strange quirk, fact of life, that as soon as they reach this country, they have more rights and privileges than the people that actually live here, lived here for generations, thousands of years even, and paid their taxes. And the media, most of the media, with the exception of GB News in the UK, as far as I know, it's only them that are asking the hard questions. The BBC are nowhere to be seen. Sky News, nowhere to be seen. Channel 4, nowhere to be seen. But if they do mention it, they mention it in a positive light. But is it positive? Why aren't the British people allowed to debate it without being called racists and white supremacists? Because that is what is happening. Britain has been destroyed. Before I came back home, I was told to prepare for a few shocks, and I was shocked, still feeling a little bit of shock. Like I told in a previous video just the other day, my biggest shock was, well, South London was the first big shock. When I seen spray cans all over people's walls, house walls, just dereliction. Didn't look like England at all. And I know John Cleese, he said 3-4 years ago that London isn't an English city anymore, and it isn't. And it's because of what I'm talking about. The second biggest shock for me, coming on the bus up to Chester and to North Wales, was coming into Birmingham, like I said. Now, Birmingham was the most shocking sight I have ever seen. And I can't emphasise that enough. It was much worse than South London. To me it was. And but I was told, if you ever go to Birmingham, you'll have a shock of your life, and I did. And this is a result of absolutely cowardly, gutless politics. Not only here, but across the world. But it seems like the UK specialise in stupidity and cowardice. Politicians I'm talking about. And we have pretend conservatives leading the Conservative Party. And they say a whole lot to win elections, and then they win elections. And they, as good as, either ignore what they promised, or they will go totally against it, do the opposite of what they said. And I was just talking to my family member just the other night. There should be a mechanism where, if politicians make promises to win elections, and they are the biggest promises, and they win elections on those promises because they've rallied the people, and they say vote for, we'll say use Boris as an example, or we'll vote for Boris because he's going to stop this mass migration, blah blah blah. But if he fails to do it, and he has failed miserably to do it, in fact it's escalated, there should be a mechanism in place. I don't know how or what. I'm simplifying it, obviously, in simple man's language, where if he doesn't deliver on what his promises were, there should be a mechanism where there's an instant referendum that will happen within 3 days, a referendum, and if 70% or 75%, if you like, I'm not sure about numbers, they vote to remove him from office, he's removed right away. Right away. The party stays in, but he is removed. And it'll happen again to the next one, and it will keep happening until, and they will be disgraced, by the way. It will keep happening until they actually fulfill their promises that they won elections to get in. I don't know the ins and outs of setting up such a mechanism, but there should be such a mechanism. They should be held to account. Now, their version of being held to account is you can vote me out in 4 years, because they have 4-year cycles in the UK. But that's just not good enough, is it? Because a lot of damage can be done in 4 years. So, that's my video of today. But to see these pictures, and you won't see it on the BBC, these pictures flooding in to Dover, brought in by the British government, the British state, which is what it is, Border Force, RNLI. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening, especially if you've got kids. And if you think this is a fantastic thing, then you're not right. You're not a full quid, especially if you've got kids or grandchildren. But anyway, this is Cross the Rubicon. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Share this video everywhere. See you later.